Hi class, today we are going to work on the photograph that we scanned. This is actually my great Aunt Alice and my great Louise Hildebred Wood. And we've scanned it in. It was actually a 2" by 2" approximately rounded photograph, as you can see. And we're now going to kind of fix it up where we crop out, of course, this like cardboard, even though it's really cool looking. We're going to like rotate this and crop out just the main portion of this image that's workable. And one great way to straighten a photograph, if you scan it in and you realize, oh my gosh, this is like off kilter, is with the ruler tool, which is the third tool down on the right. This is called the ruler tool. And what's really nice about the ruler tool is if you look up at the options bar, there's this word button called straighten layer. And what that lets you do is straighten your layer. Now, we're on a background. So this is just something also to keep in mind, is that I always like to keep a photo corrected layer intact where all of the problems are still there, so that in your portfolio you'll have a before and after file. So let's duplicate this. Command J is really the fastest way, but you can also just drag that background down to the upturned page. Boom, there's your copy. And I would probably call this, fixed photo layer 1, something like that. You can choose sort of how you want to title your layers. And with this ruler tool, now that we're on a copy, a layer, and we're going to just kind of keep the background, just don't work on the background. If you need to, make sure you don't, I think it's padlocked, but at any rate, you can also make a, just to kind of make the point, you could padlock this one and duplicate it, unpadlock the top copy, and work off a third layer. Because the reason why I'm actually saying that is because the background, even though it's locked, isn't really purely locked. You could still paint on it or do something by accident. Whereas if you get a layer and padlock it, you cannot do anything. No can do in terms of editing on it and doing anything. So we're going to just work on the third copy and make sure it's unpadlocked. And with that ruler tool, here's what's really cool is if you have a straight edge in your image, you can use that to straighten this picture. You could use her pupils, like if you wanted, you could click and drag, and holding the mouse down and connect it to her pupils, as long as you can kind of get it straight. It's a little bit ambiguous. But you do something like that and click on straighten layer. Boom, she's straight. Edit, undo. I'm going to try it again against the edge of the cardboard. And again, click on straighten layer. And that's another way. So if you ever scan something a little off kilter, that's how you can, one way you can fix it. Now we're going to crop this, and I'm going to click on the crop tool. That's the third tool down on the left. Make sure in your options bar that you have unconstrained, because that gives you full freedom of your crop. Come in, click and drag, and I'm going to kind of get up as close as I can to the edge because I want some area above her hair. And come down. I want to make sure I include the digits of the hand. I think that's probably a good plan. And I'm just looking around at all sides and letting go. That's obviously going to make it a smaller image because you cannot enlarge. But you know what? That's okay. I think that's going to be a primo look. And if you wanted to, you could also scan it in at a higher res or a higher size, even though you know that 200% is about what you should really do. These old photographs, 1897, are going to have, they're going to be a little softer anyway, and I'm not justifying enlarging, but if you're going to do it, maybe this is the best opportunity because these images are so special. Okay, we're going to press return after the crop, and I'm just going to check our image size, like what do we have going on? This was a square or a circular even proportion at 2 inches. So we're not going to really be able to do a rectangle unless we wanted to come in with a crop. And just to teach that, if you're in your crop tool, you could come in, I could come in and get a more of a rectangular sort of design and put it in a frame. So I could start working out, a different size by moving this, and you can see it tells you what you've got here. And this width is about 4. I could do 4 inches. 4 by 5.5 is what we've got. So you could do 3 by 5 because when you do this, it'd be pretty tight. Not sure it's a good idea. But yeah, it'd be a little too tight. But I don't really want to do that. The only reason why I'm bringing it up is because if you're framing, it's a lot cheaper to get a proportion ready-made size like at Target or somewhere. But this is fine. We like it. I'm going to press return again. And we're going to look at a couple tools on the toolbox in this first round, and then I'll do another video tutorial on the other tools. But you're basically your 4th and your 5th tools on the left side, remembering that I don't like the long skinny strip. I like it 2 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the left are your photo correcting tools primarily. We also come down 1, 2, 3, 4 up from the right, from the bottom. We use the dodge tool for lightening and the burn tool for darkening, and also the sponge tool for desaturating or saturating color. But we're going to start up here with the spot healing brush, and I'm going to zoom in on this top left corner with a Command plus or a Control plus. Use the space bar and move over. This is a good habit to get into. When you're zoomed in, the space bar is your friend because it will let you move and situate where you want to be. And what I'm going to do is this tool is really pretty interesting. You know, I can have any size brush with the brackets next to the letter P, but I'm going to just get on circle, kind of get the right size brush to just enclose one spot at a time. Don't try to get a bunch of them because that's really not the point. Get on a little speckle and click and let go. And I might try another one. Click and let go. And I'm really trying to only get one at a time. That's actually really important because it's looking at these like little islands. You can kind of imagine out in the ocean, you know, like one little island, a little speckle, and it's basically washing over that speckle with the average of what's around it. And so if you include a bunch of them, I think it averages them, or it's just not a good idea. It's just from what I've done, and that's just a hypothesis. But essentially, you can work this way. Now, one of the drawbacks, though, is that you can create a lot of little subtle blemishes because you are taking care of one speckle at a time. However, this is a great tool if you don't have so darn many. You can see here, we're out of control. We've got a ton of them. So that's just what this tool does. You enclose a little speckle, and to your heart's content, you can come in here on her face, get some of these. The other thing too, just briefly, up in your options bar, forgive me, I probably should have said it a little earlier. In the options bar under hardness, I always keep my brush a little softer, like 50-ish, 60-ish. You don't want a really hard brush because you'll get like a weird edge, a hard edge around your cleanup, and yet you don't want to be too soft. So I still really explore the edge of my brush because it really actually matters probably more than sometimes we think. Okay, that's all that brush really does. I am going to now move on to the next tool, and that's actually not really in the toolbox. We're going to jump into some other things up here as well. But to get rid of speckles, the reason why is because we're talking about these speckles, and sometimes, you know, you got to pick and choose between which tool is the best tool. This one's really good in your filter menu under noise, dust, and scratches, because let's grab that. This is not an easy tool, and I really want to caution you there because it looks like it is. It's actually set up perfectly, but you have these two slider scales. You've got radius, which causes kind of a softening, and also kind of covers, like we talked about a minute ago, it sort of covers the speckles. However, it does cause blurring, and you know, if you look at the highlight in her eye, that is also a, you know, speckle in a way. So you have to be really careful with this tool. The radius will cause some softening, and as I was doing this earlier, I think 2, maybe 1 or 2. 2 is pretty good because 2 is going to soften and cover. Look at how it just covered all of the speckles, and if you uncheck preview, you can see the before and after. I do a lot of before and after. Problem is, it kind of caused the blurriness, and the threshold is really cool because the threshold will bring back the grain. And I'm just going to slowly bring it up. Be really careful. I'm just analyzing the point which some of the grub comes back. And it certainly is, I think, 9, between 7, 8, 9, 9 maybe. And that looks awesome. Look at the difference. You can click on the little thumbnail here to do before and after. I'm going to probably run out of time, so I think I'm going to end there. Just remember that with dust and scratches, what you want to do is bring up the softening, but also bring up the grain, and you do sort of this working between the two to get the perfect thing where you see the speckles go away, but you still have a pretty good. Nothing else seems to change too much. All right, hope you've enjoyed this. We've looked at the spot healing brush, and also we've looked at the dust and scratches. Those are 2 ways to work and get a really exciting difference. We'll, in the next section, look at more of these tools located in the 4th and 5th area of your toolbox on the left side.